Can I suggest the sound effects at some point?
Yes, and
It's a
everyone
rape sound effect that's inappropriate.
Okay.
scoot in. Everyone.
From
Close is better.
some people might the sound that when a probe starts warping in a building.
I can see that.
Yeah.
So gentlemen, video game podcast. Figure I'll get you guys your thoughts while we're still all together. Happy again.
Yeah. It's
Matt and Chris again, by the way.
Yay!
Both children of ire.
Yeah. So we've known each other for many years, quite some time.
Yep.
So I thought it would be fun to talk about what may be the best time of my whole life, which there's no real name for that period, right? Or that era of my parents' house.
I think maybe to call it a Starcraft season.
It was more than a season, though. So basically, it was after I got out of high school. I didn't have to go to university. My parents were like, just do whatever you want. Who cares? So I did. I worked at a comic store and nothing else for probably a few years before I moved out. And it was a big house, and my parents didn't give a shit what we did. That was what I always liked about growing up with my parents' house. And everyone always says this too when they think back to when we were kids, is we had the house anyone could just come hang out at. It was
That is
never a
true.
problem.
You didn't even have to knock.
Yeah, just walk in the front door.
Yeah.
Is Keith upstairs? Yeah, there you go.
So we got a bunch of, so I guess this was like late 90s, and we just took over the bottom floor of the house, or this one room in the bottom floor of the house with computers. There's 3 computers down there, I think, and then one
upstairs.
on the 3rd floor
Where your
at
room
the
was.
back of the house. Yeah, we had like the longest network cord.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember, didn't we have to call
It's like
some?
a $50 network.
Yeah, was it? We had to call somebody. Like, how long do you make them? Like, just like, yeah,
Double it.
yeah,
I'll pay any price.
yeah.
And then I know sometimes we would also use the computer at your house, Chris, like across the street. Because I remember for Starcraft, it would be just type P. That means like pick up the phone. Although didn't we know we did that
did
in the
that
house?
upstairs, yeah.
Yeah, because if we picked up the
The
phone,
hotline.
we wouldn't have to dial.
Yeah.
Just talk
Yeah.
to each
For
other.
them, you actually had to call them.
Yeah, and that means a hand, not at not on a mouse or not hitting hotkeys. So it had to be an important fucking
Well,
message.
you had to do the neck crook.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, that was like awesome because like just to have. Well, this is where I was saying like possibly the best time of my life is that this occurred to me soon after I left that house. Is I didn't have to go to work except the comic store, which was barely a job. Didn't have to pay for food. Just fridges and pantries stocked with whatever. Like 4 computers just that were good enough to play Quake and Starcraft. And, you know, the games of the day. Not the best, but good enough.
Yeah.
All my friends could come over, just hang out. The only way it'll ever be that good again is if I win the lottery. Right? And that's what I would do if I won the lottery. Big house full of computers where my friends can all hang out.
Yeah, there you go.
And just have food around. Like that was kind of... I mean, sure, I later went on to do other things, have sex with a girl, whatnot. But in some ways, that was the best.
And the other part is that all your friends that you invite over, well, they all have responsibilities or what they think their responsibilities, artist. And they'll be they'll be that. So there won't be like, what are you guys doing? Nothing. We're just turning 18 and we got nothing to do during the summer. So we're going to come over.
Yeah, even if you won the lottery, you would have to win enough to support everyone.
Yeah, like
to come
basically,
over. They
yeah.
wouldn't be hanging out if they got jobs.
Yeah,
and kids and shit.
well, I'll pay you guys to play StarCraft.
Yeah.
There we go. That's the only way it's going to work. For me
You
to
guys
do
hang
that.
out with me? I'll allow us to pay.
I don't know, man.
I mean, that was really, man, that was good times.
And I was and just basic, all right, us, and I guess point out, it wasn't all of us playing against each other. It was like, all right, let's go against computers, and
We'll get on BattleNet. And that was awesome, too, to be playing multiplayer, like a 3-on-3, but all 3 of us were in the same room. It's a distinct advantage.
Yeah, and I guess for other people in the knowing of StarCraft, this would have been really heavy in StarCraft one with the headhunters
Big game hunter.
big game hunters and whatnot. Everybody
Or
wanted
the
to do
hunters,
that.
yeah.
And I guess, this is back when you couldn't just, hey, let's look for a couple of players. Like, it takes almost seconds or just a few moments. You're like, oh, you might be a 2-minute wait. And where you had to type in stuff so we would put no fat chicks or Star Wars sucks to kind of, you'd have to advertise why you should join this game. Because otherwise, if you're 4v4, just
Yeah, that was when you gotta like look for the game. Look for the one ain't no air in space.
Yeah. But that was hilarious.
I don't see it. Like
Yeah. No, and I found that was the thing too of just even with like because it was like this was kind of like a LAN party that you left the party and it came back and the LAN party was still there. Like it wasn't everybody just bringing their computers, but like
and it also like it predated the gay term LAN party, which was also
well,
nice.
that is what it's called.
I
Like,
always hated that.
I always found it's like all right, is that
why give such an unfun name to something so fun?
Appropriate though. It's LAN and it's a party.
It's LAN, it's a party.
What should we call it? Just a computer Star Wars party?
Yeah, or some kind of I don't know, jamboree of some kind.
Jamboree, I like that. Yeah, was it?
I remember too, like there was because there was the other thing was the waves where we just sort of stopped playing Starcraft for like 8 months, and then we'd realize or a year or whatever.
Yeah, something like one of us would be like, "Hey, I was playing Starcraft, like single player campaign. It's good." And
Well, then
we'd
we'd somehow not have any fucking copies of the game
it
around
just
anymore.
all disappeared. It's like, let's go to Digital World.
Yeah,
Pray to God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking
Like the only time before that, like as a kid, when we all used to like use Nerf guns, like I lived right across from where Keith lived, and like we'd play Nerf in those woods, and just whenever one of those rooms like, hey, we should play Nerf again and get our guns, it was like, well, we need more bullets. It was always like, how can we convince parents to drive us up so we can just get more ammo and then lose it, like we're shooting at each other and whatnot. And yeah, so like after that, it was like, hey, we need StarCraft copies, and we never really did that with like Warcraft 3, did we?
No. It was that.
Like Warcraft, we had Warcraft 3 ads.
And, well, the thing is, Warcraft 3 too, it was after that sweet spot where you needed a computer of some repute, where StarCraft, anything could run StarCraft.
Oh, yeah,
It's
exactly.
Like a
Piece of
fucking
shit.
calculator to run StarCraft.
Yeah.
So it was just any old computer we had around would...
Yeah, because we got those from, like, Lars got them from ICS, because he got them for like $100 a pop or 150 pop, so we were all just like, let's fucking get those.
Yeah.
I remember too, you get to see the waves too of transition stuff, like because we were together, so we always did so much better than most other teams. Like if it was a 2v2, I think it was me and you, Matt. I distinctly remember the first time I realized the crushing power of South Korea. Where,
The guy who took us out.
Yeah, like it was a 2-on-2.
Wasn't it that he's like, hey, what his partner dropped?
His partner dropped, so we were like, hey buddy, like, you don't deserve the loss. You want to just call this?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, let's
it was
just
like-
go.
Yeah, he's like being fair. I'm like, no, I'll try.
Yeah,
and
like in the first 5 minutes, you didn't get a loss if you left, so it was still in that thing. He's like, no, I got it covered, and just
He smoked
took
us.
the pants off us.
Yeah.
Like, just ridiculous.
It was crazy how much he
Like, that's
we
what-
had no chance.
Yeah. Part 2 has replays, so you can go see what they did.
Right.
If they'd had replays in part 1, we would have learned so much right there.
Yeah, was it?
It's like, how did that? Because it's still like a mystery. It's just like you walk in, it's like, let's go get them, and there's all this Zerg everywhere. It's like, what?
Yeah.
What?
I'd almost say like it'd be like, oh, that guy has a crack. Like I imagine it'd be a kind of thing like, well, he's cheating like through like bots or something like that. Even though
No, we just gotta say we did it. We knew
Yeah.
there was nothing
Yeah.
fun.
oh yeah, no, yeah. Was it?
It's like, man, we suck. We're not. As
I
good as
remember
we
you
thought.
played against a guy where you were going like, what if I just take my inspiration from the First World War generals and just send wave after wave of my own men just at him, and
break
that
against
gas basically had ran out on the map, and you were just typing to him. Gassy, it's gas, isn't it? And, like it was clear that guys had just ran out, like just yeah.
I remember too just the story out of I don't know why this story comes up so often, like it's our classic story.
Yeah.
But our friend Jay, how you're like, I learned my respect for Jay on the battlefield.
Because that was the only place Jay was getting any respect was in StarCraft.
Like you're not talking Jay Lemon.
Jay Lemon,
yeah.
yeah, where it's
He's
just
actually
like,
good at it.
Oh yeah, he was super good at Zerg.
So yeah, I just remember like because I went to bed and you guys were just up like all night, and I just remember you were like, man, me and Jay, we just the battles we had last
Yeah.
night. If only you could have seen them.
Yeah. Oh, I don't really kind of sat on a race just yet. Like I kind of like Protoss, but I kind of switched between all three of them. Like, of course, I'm like, hey, you know what? If you get Guardians, you kind of win, or like if you get carriers and stuff like that.
Well, we also, I mean, it was the other game, I guess, was to a lesser extent, but it was Quake, because Quake would run on whatever as well.
Yeah.
And I do remember having some fun times with that where my cousin Dan was really good at that game, and he's one of those guys that will never handicap himself. He's happy to just win handily all the time.
Oh yeah, like just hey, you should try to play us versus just double barrel shotgun, and we'll have all the missile launchers and
Right.
shit. Yeah.
And he still probably would have won. But
Yeah.
but there were these maps called the PDFs that were just like, whatever deathmatch that somebody made. and they were really small. So I remember playing him one-on-one. One of the few good times I remember playing a video game with Dan. Because going back to last episode with Street Fighter, same thing happened with that, where he was much better than me and just destroyed me for weeks. And it was just like, I'm just not even like, to the point where, you can't get better unless you play someone better. But if they're too much better, you're not learning shit.
Yeah, you're like, you got to get the small victories, yeah.
But I remember in these PDF levels, it was so fun because they were so little and you could memorize them so well that just from sound, like I remember this one that you could tell where he was by like footsteps in water.
And like also things sometimes move, like when you came up to a bridge, sometimes bridges extend and whatnot, and you can hear that.
Yeah, so it got to the point where it's like you're in each other's mind. Like the game has hit this level of just craziness.
I remember like when you guys had moved that other place and you kind of set up those computers when Mark and you had enough that like 4 of us could play Quake, and my brother was like, oh yeah, like, oh man, I remember Quake, and he did this one where he had 18 kills on us and 0 deaths, and we're like, what the fuck was that? And then he didn't like, and then the next one he didn't really do that well, but we're just like, how was he on fire? That one where you're just, no, it's not too hard to be on fire when you have 100 armor and you get that missile launcher every time, and it's like, hey, in a shootout, you can try to shoot me, but I got you. Yeah, Quake was a weird.
Yeah, those are good times.
Yeah,
good times, man.
Oh, I guess, should we, even though we all know about it, should we at least tell about Backstabber's winning strategy? In StarCraft,
so basically, your brother was a total cock.
Basically, where in StarCraft 1, you had allies and allied vision, and there's a menu you can just go click that. And actually, even on a 2 versus 2, or like say if you teamed up someone online versus the computers, you could just click those buttons, and suddenly you guys, your own men, would start opening up on your ally.
Right, like you're not allied.
But your ally wouldn't attack you because, his still clicked. So what my brother would sometimes do would usually be Terran. And
I was going to say, yeah, with StarCraft 2, I don't know if that type of game gets played very much, but is there anything around that? Like, you should make a hard deal.
You can,
right?
you
if you're
technically,
you're on the same team.
Yeah, the only way you can go like attack that guy.
This specific guy.
Right. Yeah.
But then you have to say that for each guy. You can't just say go this way. Like you can't the AO.
The only other way though, but here's the answer to it, and it's usually an answer to a lot of problems. Nukes. Exactly.
Because I was thinking, like, it should have at least, when you're unallied, it should at least give you, it tells you every time you're getting low on Vespene gas. It could at least say your ally's not your ally anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Your ally has unchecked ally. You should look into this.
So yeah, like he would usually go like, hey, I'm going to build a bunker by your base. I'm doing all right. And he's like, hey, thanks. So the bunker would be built, and
what a nice gesture to build a bunker
in my base. I was worried about my defense.
And so 4 guys.
We'll be the best of friends. We'll hang out in that bunker. We'll read comics together, and we'll always be teammates.
So that bunker would be built, and 4 guys would be put into it, and I'm not really sure, like, if you
4 teammates that will never turn their back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, was it? He wouldn't necessarily do it with siege tanks. I kind of remembering him doing it very early or mid.
If he was an actual general, right? He's like, hey, you know that bunker that our ally let us build in the base? Who is the most, just like winking, most trustworthy people?
Yeah, exactly.
I can send.
Yeah, and then just suddenly he would click it off. Like he would always keep allied vision on, so he could still see his enemy all the time until and that bunker would start opening up, usually on a bunker or on a command center. It was kind of strategically placed that it didn't just defend; it also could hit mineral lines and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then right by all the SCVs and shit.
And so of course it only took about 20 seconds for it to really start to be like, hey, like your bunker's attacking me. Like, just, I think you got, like, do something with allies. Like, your bunker's lighting up, and just,
that's another
long pause.
Key point to this, too, is that's one of the other genius things about StarCraft, is that on a dial-up modem and stuff, it ran pretty well, really good. And this was well beyond voice chat and all that shit. It was all typing. Yeah. So that's very important to this process.
Why when we were in the room together, we had such an advantage.
Oh, yeah, like, instant communication,
yes, somebody would say, like, hey, what's going on? Like, your guys are attacking me, like, and it would always be, what I thought was so funny about what your brother did is how, like, the art of it was he knew exactly how long to wait, where he would never respond right away.
Yeah, if you didn't say anything at all, the guy's fucking traitor. Right? Yeah.
Just let it sit, let the carnage continue a bit, and then you just go, What?
So then the other guy has to take the time to type shit.
Yeah, exactly. And just
And then he's like, I don't know what you mean. And he'd walk him through, like, go in the menu, and
Yeah.
he's like, I don't see it.
just like just like, or like, do you mean like in like graphic settings? No, and it's like it just, and SUVs would be like his SUVs would be repairing like a command center and shit like that. And also, it should be pointed out that when this game started, my brother's gamer tag would be called was just Backstabber #1. That's just like
That is the best name.
That's like, oh, who are we meeting at the restaurant? The Hamburglar. And then just like
What do you think? Like, how do you think anyone either? Like, you never know who your teammate's going to be. You're just waiting 2 versus 2, whatever, and your teammate comes in and his name is Backstabber #1.
Yeah,
like, do you just think that's a cool name?
yeah, or just like was it? We was like,
You must know.
We should keep an eye on him. Like, that's
You play a rogue in D&D? Something like that.
yeah.
But yeah, and I would love to, like, when it would escalate, where the guy's just like, what are you doing? And then they'd be like, nuclear launch detected,
Yeah.
where like your brother was sending a nuke to his own, and at that point they would finally like allies and be like, it's
sometimes
there's no
people wouldn't
stopping this.
like. There'd be a few people. I think there were a few times people don't know what like they thought the game is bugged. Like they're just like, not everybody knew about that.
And it is like a different game your brother was playing that he can't lose, basically.
Yeah, like
the other guy
unless
doesn't know he's playing.
And there were so many people like playing that on average, like it's not. Like,
I feel like there was even like griefing is pretty well known these days, but I feel like was this pre-griefing? Like, where else would you grief?
I feel like it must have been as soon as games became able to play online.
when there was anonymity, you know what I mean. On one side, and really we would just call those now in Starcraft 2 cheese builds. Like I had a really good cheese build when a friend of mine, we were playing Starcraft 2.
No, it's not a cheese build. The cheese build's a legitimate way to play the game.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but that's the title we give it.
Yeah.
Like just what Mark was doing was kind of breaking the game.
A cheese build, though, intended to destroy your own partner.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's pretty unusual.
Where like the whole
any build really will do it.
Yeah.
It's just you being a piece of shit is the trick.
And just the whole like building the pylon just off where I couldn't see, and then suddenly I see that cannon and I'm like, oh shit,
Man,
if I can't stop this now.
I would have loved to see your brother try the Backstabber #1 technique on that Korean guy that mopped us up, because I bet he would just, with robot-like efficiency, would just turn off allies, would have killed your brother, and would have still killed the other 2 guys.
Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, he's just like,
As soon as that bunker opened up, he would have been like, I see what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't need you. I didn't even want you here. Like, this is over.
Frankly, I'm looking at those minerals. They should be mine.
Though in times when we played in StarCraft 2, when there's like 4 of us or like 3 of us versus a computer, and we'd all be hitting one base, suddenly we'd hear nuclear launch detected and be right on the base. But a lot of us would have guys in the ground zero, and we of course type just like, hey, a little warning next time. And then so next time we started attacking, it says warning, incoming nuke, and we just suddenly all pulling the guys out of there because they would start to come down.
It is awesome too. I think I might end this episode if I can find some with that guy Sean Elliott, some of his griefing stories, because there's just something so funny about it, because it's so uncalled for and so unfair.
Yeah,
it's just like so funny.
Yeah, like it.
And I guess it's because like it doesn't really matter. So that's what makes it even funnier, that people get so angry, because it's not like in real life, if you fuck someone that hard, it wouldn't be funny. It would just be like,
it's not like you
messed
have
up.
troops, like you're an allied nation inside NATO.
And those men trusted me and blah blah blah, and you betrayed me.
The French all of a sudden start shooting your guys and been like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Men died.
But there is something of just so crazy funny about it. In a way, actually, it kind of reminds me of, do you guys remember way back in the day when we had our old movie review website, and me and Matt left Chris and his brother, and we just took off and went and got burgers?
Man, like, I
we
was
were
just
laughing
like,
so hard because it was that kind of thing in real life. We're like, well, that is so unfair what we just did.
we were just like, and like I've heard the,
but you get this manic laugh.
I remember
so
listening to your
awesome.
XL, whatever you would call it back then. And like, no, actually, it's a movie. It was just an It's a Movie review, and like I hear you guys like talking at Wendy's. It's like it's not that we don't even like, we like hanging out with those guys. Like, just like, why did we do that?
Things.
They didn't do anything to deserve it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's because it started out as the fake, you drive and try and let you guys.
Yeah, well, it's also
like, what if we just left? What if we just went all the way to Wendy's and said fuck them?
Yeah, I thought it was like, all right, and it wasn't the farthest. Like, obviously, it wasn't a short walk, but it was like, all right, let's go. I could tell he didn't. He thinks he's like, well, that could happen to you, Chris, but that shouldn't happen. Like
Your brother was really
Your brother
was
was
like,
mad.
and he's right though. He's
I know
he was
exactly.
right to be
Yeah,
mad.
I was just like, I was more like, just that. Like, yeah, I'm just like, I'm not. It's almost like, well, yeah, no, this is what they do sometimes. Yeah, like just
All those lads.
yeah.
Oh yeah, it was bullshit. We shouldn't have done it, but it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Were there any other games? Like, I feel like we must have played other stuff than just StarCraft and Quake, but that's all I remember.
We played a bit of Diablo, but that was usually only 1 or 2 people. Like, you mean of those connected computers?
Yeah. Because then, like, afterward, like, after I moved out and I moved in with Matt, and then the year after, we all moved to an apartment across the river with Matt's brother and Cody. That house, that was a fun-ass house.
Yeah.
And we got computers running there again, but I think we just played StarCraft.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like
Cody
there's
and Kenneth played a lot of Diablo 2 over there, and
Yeah.
then I think one day someone was like, we had 3 computers, and we're like, we should get some fucking StarCraft going.
Get the fucking gang back together.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, was it
Man, let me tell you a story about that house. I never told anybody, but it was
secrets?
it was super late at night, and there was always people just crashed out at that house. Like
Yeah.
the doors were never locked, and it was.
Didn't
just
you have
like,
a couch that was ruined because of a smell of a certain individual?
There was a certain individual, yeah, that just I don't know, just like would jizz into Kleenexes and toss them onto the couch. And one day someone checked under the couch. He didn't live there, my dad.
Yeah.
Paul, his name's Paul, Big Fat Polly.
Who also handed my brother like $100 one day and was like, listen, I may have got drunk and called a sex line on your phone last night, so when that bill shows up, here you go.
And fucking really fun. I like that house. But this story was kind of similar, where it was like, I don't know who was around that night, but everyone was upstairs. Like all the bedrooms were upstairs.
Yep.
I was downstairs, and I was like, everyone's gone. And what can I say? There's no computer in my room. Computer's down here. I'm going to look at a little porn. And somehow I didn't hear Corey Carr come downstairs for whatever. And he tried his best not to embarrass me or whatever. I just heard him go like, oh, really? And then he just like skedaddled and was like, he definitely saw me.
Yeah.
Like, why would he say that?
Yeah.
But then I was like, but now he left. I'm just gonna finish.
Yeah,
Fuck
yeah.
it.
And it's kind of funny that
He's the nicest guy too, so he never brought it up. But
And he could have.
Yeah.
He could have told everyone.
and that's the thing about like Corey Carr is that the stuff that man has done and has been caught doing,
Right.
that is, yeah, like you're
well, I guess
just
yeah,
like,
like we're all just like whatever. Well, like Cody who
Yeah.
lived there, like
Yeah.
he's just like again very nice guy, but just greasy, just a
Yeah,
greasy
yeah.
individual. Like,
oh, I remember like you weren't there where when Dave was running, no, it was Kenneth was running a D&D campaign, and Corey Carr was involved with that, and this is when he was doing, I don't know what he was doing, like I don't know what drugs he was doing, but he was so spaced out, and he was sitting kind of on like sitting right next to a coffee table. I was sitting next to him, and I kind of wish I wasn't because then I would have because I missed the show, and because he was sort of a little spaced out, I forget which Jenkins brother basically took a lighter to his sock, and I suddenly just look over, and I can't make the face for the radio, but basically picture 2 guys, eyes fucking saucers, mouth slowly open, and they're kind of looking down, like just because every second was an eternity of this flame on a foot, and the guy not reacting, that was the thing.
It was Corey Carr, me, and Kenneth on a couch.
Yeah.
And I look at Kenneth, and I've got my lighter.
Oh, yeah, it
I
was
just
Kenneth,
go like
yeah.
this and hold it to Corey's foot. And he's so drunk and so stoned. And then all of a sudden, all you can smell is like disgusting, hot, burning sock and foot. And we're looking at each other because Corey has not yet noticed. And we're just looking at each
Yeah,
other like,
and this wasn't like
What the fuck?
it wasn't on for like 2 minutes, but just the seconds of it
Yeah.
lit was just like
way longer
would
than
you,
anyone in their right mind
like
would ever let it happen.
twice as long. Yeah, was it? And then he said like goes like, and he kind of just like where the clearly like it's actually started to like heat is gone past of just contact, but flame might be contacting his toe, and he just shakes his toe and like just puts it out in a second. But like I was like,
his sock was on fire.
yeah, and just I was like, what the fuck happened? And then they just like there was just eruption of just I wouldn't say laughter, like just giddiness of like just like that.
again,
just
yeah,
happened.
just the inappropriate laugh. Like,
Yeah.
that never should have happened, but it sure did.
Yeah.
Man, though, I'm kind of like, it's weird too, because then, like, you know, with having all the computers at my parents' house was awesome, and that house at Saunders Street was awesome. But then I moved out to Vancouver and, you know, just doing different stuff for ages. But that's still, like, such a good dynamic of, like, it's nice that I finally kind of got it back, where the first year in Toronto, I was just, like, on a chick's couch because I was desperate for a place to live because my stupid house burned down, and just, it sucked. But then when I moved in with Craig and Keith, it's just, like, kind of like that again. Like, we don't have the computer part, but it's weird because we were all in our 20s back then. Now we're all in our early 30s, but we're still just like, just have dumb jobs.
Yeah.
We're all just hanging out. And like, I just saw on Twitter yesterday that my roommate Craig was like, what's that game? Star Fox. Little Star Fox before bed. Sounds good to me. And I'm just like, it's awesome that I've kept this going this long.
Yeah.
Like, we still managed to avoid like houses and responsibilities and kids and wives.
Even though you're saying you need a house to have all these computers and stuff.
Well, not
Yeah,
a house
exactly,
house.
yeah.
I mean, like we have like our apartment in Toronto. I feel like it's just awesome. It's like where
Yeah.
we've got all the rooms are off the center, so we just have the center room, and
Yeah.
now we got all the emulators of old games, computers, like on the.
Yeah.
the
It's weird
TV.
because I hate any game that's played online. Like I play
Yeah, which is
pretty much solely single player games by myself, and like I don't go on except for a bit in Starcraft 2. But like if you're not in the room with me, I don't want to play
Yeah.
a fucking video game.
I
with you,
agree.
Period. I don't care if it's a headset. Like when we tried to play Diablo 3 for a while, I was like, this is fucking gay. Like
Yeah.
this is I would rather play by myself because this
Oh,
is
was
just
it,
kind of stupid.
no, like a couple of guys that I know, we do Skype a lot just because, even though we're all on the north side, and that was like, hey, we can play every night. But it's like, yeah, but we don't want to, like, we don't mind the idea. Like sometimes, like when we first started playing Borderlands, we brought, like, one guy brought his desktop to where I live, and so we had 2 laptops and a desktop on a table, and we were all playing together. But we kind of quickly just like, do we mind the Skype? No, Skype has just gotten good enough and reliable enough that
That's still just
we don't
not
mind
the
it. Yeah,
same.
and I admit it's not the same.
Because
Like
last time you
yeah.
were here, we played Borderlands 2 for a while
Yeah.
back there, and then
Yeah.
as soon as you left, I'm like, should I call Chris?
Yeah.
Nah, fuck it.
And it's really moved that way too. Like, it's so hard to find games. Like, it was weird that Portal 2 had a split screen. Like,
Yeah.
most games don't.
They advertised for Borderlands 2. It was just like, hey, you can do split screen. We haven't forgot about it. Yeah, was it the only thing, like, I actually, like, the most people playing at the same time, like, I did go to, we don't really call it that, but like a Halo party of the original Xbox, original Halo, 16,
Again, it's just
16
the term
people.
party. It just
Yeah.
kills me. It's really not a party.
Well, like, that's what we didn't call it.
I mean,
like,
even though this whole podcast is about how it's one of the most fun things you can do,
yeah,
I just
I know.
don't
Yeah.
like the term
Yeah,
party.
all right, fine. Like,
I don't know. What
I'm
else
just
to
telling
call
you
it.
that's what people called them.
Halo
Like, we never
gathering,
came, yeah.
gathering of the Chiefs.
Like, yeah, like, always says, like,
Xbox social.
yeah, it's social.
Oh,
Ding,
shit.
there you go.
That is perfect.
Fucking we've got to get the URL on that one. Yeah.
That's what Xbox Live should be called.
Xbox Social. Oh man. Yeah.
You missed a trick there, fucking Microsoft.
Yeah, was it fucking a big bike is the fucking logo for it? Yeah. When the loading screen is a guy pedaling and that's the load of it? Yeah.
Right, that's wicked.
But yeah, like it was I think it was 8 TVs. No, 4 TVs. Or like 4 or 6 TVs and 16 people all playing at the same time. Of course, as me and a friend of mine, like, we went there and was like, cool, this is awesome. But of course, since we weren't playing Halo 2 every day, all the goddamn time, we were just like, yeah, we're getting our asses kicked. And steadily some people filed away, but we were like, hey, you want to just plow through the Halo 2 campaign? And we did until like 5. Anyway, the sun was coming up, and I didn't really drink much in high school or at all. And just coming into the light, stumbling to our car, and I was just like, it's like the sensory deprivation of just suddenly going from the screen to outside and it's bright. It was just like, I almost kind of said, like, should we kind of drive home or should we wait? Like, no, we should. To say, like, we need to be picked up for playing video games too long, that's something that we don't
We're not a
need.
vendor.
Yeah.
It really is kind of like that, though. Like, I played so much Sleeping Dogs over the 3 days that I played it that it was like drugs. I couldn't stop playing it. Like, I got a migraine at one point because my body was like, go back to bed. You went to bed for 3 hours, now you're playing this again.
Yeah.
It's just
Oh, yeah, I think we've all made ourselves sick at some point or another.
Yeah, was it I'm not too bad of just like when I was doing a big long rush of Skyrim but I just kind of like, all right, get everything done at the studio, blah blah. But then when I came home, 4 hours, like just Just,
It is.
like just 4 to
It's
6
shocking
hours.
too. Where one thing that just made me sad is, I mean, when I get big into a game, like 100 hours isn't weird. I played Red Dead for 100 and the Fallout's for 100, but in Red Dead it keeps track of all your little stuff. And when you're shooting people, it goes into like a slow mo, and you pick targets and stuff.
Yeah.
I had been in that slow mo thing for 8 hours.
Jeez, like see that's
Over 100, and it's like that's just sick.
Like imagine
what the
in
fuck?
Skyrim, like I tracked the time how long you were like had a bow out, like getting ready or shit like that, or like how long you'd block. Like it's one thing when
It
it
was
just
just like you shouldn't tell me that.
no,
I don't
like
wanna
just
know.
tell me the solid how much my prison sentence is. That's like
Give me one shameful number.
yeah, exactly. Like even though it tells you all the neat stuff of like, hey, these are how many quests, or like this is how many like charges you've taken, or just blah blah.
Man, it was so sad too in Sleeping Dogs because I finished all this stuff at 25 hours, but I wasn't ready to let go yet. But it's not quite fun enough to just drive around doing nothing. So it's every dumb little thing. Like there's little boxes full of money around the world, and I was like, well, 100%, 100%, only 96% on those, and just spent a couple hours, and I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah, I was gonna be like,
So
Jesus,
stupid.
yeah. Maddie and I just finished, I guess to date this podcast, we just finished the Heart of the Swarm campaign. I enjoyed it.
Keep it Starcraft vibe.
Yeah, seeing Starcraft vibe. I really like Starcraft too. Like, I really don't give a shit about achievements usually. That's the only game where I'm like, whenever I like play against someone online and I'll look at their profile just to kind of size them up, I'll always check out their achievement score because I'm like, it ain't easy to get that number past 2,000. Now it's easy with the second expansions.
That's one thing where I kind of like how our PlayStation doesn't work online because we got it modded. So
You don't have to worry about that bullshit.
yeah, like it's nice to get a trophy for something weird you did, like 25 kills in a row or whatever. But I never have that temptation to think someone cares.
Like that, and that's the thing too. It's like it's only like StarCraft. Like how it's like, hey, do you want to get more portraits? You're gonna have to win matches as that race. That is how you're gonna get them. Other than the few special ones in the campaign, and just Heart of the Swarm had some good missions. The story was but like someone said, you're talking about the story in an RTS. Listen, it's not too bad. It's an RTS strategy game. Like it's just.
I just saw that guy Sean Elliott I mentioned. He twittered yesterday. He works for Irrational now with Bioshock Infinite, and he's like, if you don't let me skip your cutscene, I get angry at you. But if you do let me, then I don't know what the fuck's going on. Like there's just no good way around it.
Is it
That is weird to me too, right? As much as I'm really getting intolerant of bad video game stories and I just don't care, I still can't. I can't just skip the cutscene.
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta.
Cutscenes are key.
I gotta let it. Well, I mean, I might not pay much attention, but I gotta have some idea of what's going on. Like,
Isn't it? It's crazy. Like
But there's
obviously,
people that do that. They just skip. It's like just play a different game then if it's that bad.
Like, it's crazy. Like how back in the day, like the cinema cutscene. Like remember, like playing Warcraft 2.
Yeah, it was
you had to
awesome
play like
back then.
four, like
That shit
four
was the
missions.
best.
Yeah, well, like also like Blizzard's the exception to every rule. Like their cutscenes are really good, and like you had to play like. We get like I think it was like every 4 or 5 missions, and you just see like guys looking in the distance of like there's a burning castle or something like that, and that's it, and like it's lasts like 20 seconds. But he's like, hey, sweet, like each one of those is really cool. And now it's like so they were like kind of like the money shot, like you're waiting for it.
Yeah.
But now it's like, God, there's so many money shots and lost all meaning.
Like so many cutscenes now are just like gussied up. They're still the in-game engine, right? Like they just do
like the in-game engine ones of StarCraft 2 is actually
it loses it. So it's like I guess, but like you only get like 1 or 2 like pre-rendered pristine looking cutscenes.
Those like opening cinema and shit.
It's not quite the same thing. It's just
remember back
story
in-
exposition, but
Like Final Fantasy VII, where like the graphics were just like you looked like a weird Popeye polygon monster, but then the cutscenes were beautiful.
yeah. Same thing with the first StarCraft, like.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Protoss. What do we do? Kill it!
Yeah, just
and they
like,
all recall in on top of them. It's like, oh, fucking shit! And Phoenix's blade fails against the Hydralisk. Come on!
Yeah.
Nowadays too, cutscenes have hit such a point. It kind of reminds me of like CG special effects in a movie. Like it's never gonna impress me because I know it's just a matter of time and money, and sort of the same thing. It's like,
Was it,
or back in the day, it
it
was
was like-
holy shit.
It's a Zerg. They're a small type of Zerg. They wouldn't be out this far unless, aw, shit. Like, just, I love that guy. I love you, Sarge. Like, he's just, like, he knows he doesn't have a chance. Like, he's been waiting for the right time. And he's like, well, There ain't no more time like the present. Like, he's just like, I'm gonna get Hydralist here, or whatever those spines are called. And fuck, my brother and I used to always love that one where they have to, the Zerg one where they have to go to the space station. And like, we're gonna blow this up. If there's Zerg here, we will. And they're just like chilling out, and that guy gets his head cut, and they're just like, all right, let's start fighting them. And like that the ghost guy who kind of looks like Hillbilly, he's just like total shell shock, just like looking in one direction and the other, and just everybody's just getting fucked, and one guy goes, blow it, we're all dead, we're all fucking dead. Like, just like don't even think about it, like it's already too late, and the guy just hits it. And I was like, that's Starcraft, man. I think this game's gonna go places.
Man, it's amazing too how I guess maybe it's like that now after you play StarCraft 2 if you went back to StarCraft 1, but after playing StarCraft, going back to Warcraft 2, just all the little tiny mechanical changes
only
made.
9 guys at a time.
And it just made it like unplayable. It's
Yeah.
such a pain in the ass. But then when that game used to rule the fucking shit, it was amazing.
Like you would totally notice like how that was like the only thing that some people said, like, it'd be kind of nice if the orcs were more different than the humans, but like at the time we're like, who the fuck cares? We got paladins and one guy's got two-headed ogres who does bloodlust. And there's the great debate which is better than that.
A crazy thing though. That is a crazy thing about StarCraft. Just 3 different
races.
Different races.
Yeah, like just
it's nuts that they pulled that off.
Just like the whole, like from the very start of. So how do you do like the whole your farm, like the building you have to keep making more of for like production, like where one floats around as a vehicle, one basically just sits there, and another one powers the other. Like, it's a neat way of just to, like, instead of just a goddamn farm that's there.
Yeah, like in Warcraft 2, if you play all humans and then you go to orcs, you're not going to be confused. Whereas since I played Terran most of the time in StarCraft, I started playing Zerg and I'm like, diamond over my head.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I don't know what the fuck is going on right now.
Yeah.
A larva?
yeah, just like, yeah.
Well, I think that was a pretty good little memory lane. Fucking... Any final thoughts, gentlemen? StarCraft House. Someday in heaven, we will get back to those Elysium heights.
I look forward to the Legacy of the Void.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
Fuck.
Cool then.
Yeah.
Xbox social.
Good session.
I think I'll call this episode. I almost want to call it Xbox Social, but we wouldn't really talk about Xbox much. I think I'll just call it the StarCraft House. Can't go wrong with that. It's got the word StarCraft in it.
Leave the house alone.
No, just call it StarCraft House Party.
StarCraft House Party. There you go.
Yeah, because you're like, I fucking hate when people name shit like that. I'm just like, I didn't name it. Like, I was just like, just to let people know.
It's one of those things like that just snuck up where I can't remember the first time I heard the term LAN party, but it's just that when people just also, I don't know, like, you can't just be so unashamed about it. Like, they just accept it.
What'd you guys
easily.
do? A LAN party. It's like, that's not a real party, right?
Was it? Yeah, like just. I guess it's the only thing. Is like, all right. So was it on? So was it like wireless, or did you actually have it all connected? That's a better way to say that. Because like when they're all connected.
Now it's a bygone age, right? They don't really.
I feel like it's the same kind of nerds who would be like, oh, I went to party on the weekend when they went to a LAN party at
exactly.
Oh yeah, I play sports. Like, no, you play esports. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
Different.
That was actually one thing that was pretty cool about PAX East in Boston. Like, it's a pain to travel there and get a hotel, but if I lived in Boston, I'd go all the time because there's so much stuff going on that I just went around to video game talks and stuff.
Yeah.
And there were a bunch of bands that I missed, but I could have just done the bands. That would have been fun. And then they've got board games and Magic and all this stuff. But they also have a huge part of the convention center because it's giant.
I've seen like
just
PCs.
computers. People bring in their computers and just they spend their 3 days playing games and like.
And that's kind of like the big. Like I saw when one of them was checking that shit out. Like one of the main guys is like that's where like the desktop guys who were like trying to get like the best graphics. Like a guy had an aquarium in his desktop. Like he had fish and he had all the other like the things in it, and it wasn't just the water cools it. Like obviously it was like sectioned off and blah blah, but it was just like my shit's so hot, yo, I need an aquarium to cool it. Like
there was this fucking guy I used to know who told me that the 3DO was so powerful that it ran on gas and you started like a lawnmower. Like
yeah,
it's nonsense. Anyway, cool. KeithCourage.com. That's gonna be my sign off. Why not? Does the job.
Sure.
Hey Sarge, why we always gotta listen to this shit for anyway? 'Cause I'm in charge, that's why. Oh, it don't seem like no good kind of reason to me. Possibly anyway. Hey, what's that? Hold on a minute a second. Steamroller! Looks like you mashed some poor feller's dog, Sarge. It's a Zerglin, Lester. Smaller type of Zerg. He wouldn't be out this far unless... Oh, shit. I love you, Sarge.
All right, there's my episode with my friends Chris and Matt about the old Starcraft house. So I'm going to finish this off with, me and Chris did a podcast back in 2009, probably, of my other podcast, Ham Radio, where it's mostly about music, but we got talking about video games, and we told some of the same stories. I think it's just kind of interesting to hear the other version of these stories from a few years ago. It's only a few minutes long, so I'm going to play that clip. And then I said I would end with some Sean Elliott griefing stories, but I couldn't find any real good ones. The ones on YouTube are all he would grief sometimes as this character Ralphie, where he talks like kind of a brain-damaged young man whose grandmother abuses him and stuff. It's kind of funny, but all the really good stories are buried away in podcasts and are too hard to find. I just remembered him talking about like this cycle of violence in Ultima Online, that as a lower level character you get fucked so hard by the higher levels that once you become higher level, it's like you can't break the chain, you gotta pass it down. Pass down the grief to the next generation. Or this one, it was some World War II game that was like hyper realistic, and like one guy would fly the big huge ship way out into the battlefield slowly and laboriously, and then you and the smaller ship would fly out of the mothership. So he would wait until things were well underway and the queues had been weighted and the flying had been done. It's just about time for the shit to hit the fan, and then he would just drop a bomb while he was inside the other ship and blow everyone up. I don't know, just have to take my word for it. Sean Elliott's griefing stories are real funny, but I don't feel like looking them up. So that's that episode. Thanks for listening. KeithCourage.com.
I remember like our early days at your mom's office with those, which would kind of was basically the forerunners to the Starcraft days of
we had, like, the network computers.
Yeah, Warcraft 2.
And we only had two computers.
Yeah, two computers, but those, like hooking up two computers, that was pretty much us. That's like the first email. Like, you know,
It really was like insane bullshit. Like we had I can't even remember what the cable was called anymore. Null cable or something.
Yeah, well, it's not what we call it now. Is it a?
And then you had to like dial like it was a modem, both at the same time, and like timing to like connect.
Was it a?
Do you remember that other game we played a lot, Populous 2? Did you play that one much?
I think a bit. I think I remember you and Jay Lemon used to play that a bit more.
Yeah, and Dave Rubeck and guys. But man, what was my favorite thing with that? Because it was just like you were like a god, and you got your people.
The more people you had, the more stuff you could do.
Right, and you could put like a plague on one of his guys.
Oh yeah, and you could sneak it in. And
then it would slowly spread, and it wouldn't actually kill his people. But when they had the plague, you didn't get any bonus. It's like they weren't there. So I remember my favorite was Dave Rubeck was over in my side of the world, fucking shit up and shooting lightning at my people and stuff. And I slipped a plague over at his side, and he didn't pay attention for like way too long, like 4 or 5 minutes. Then he goes back. Everyone has the plague, and he's just like, "What the fuck?" And I really think that's one thing that's different, where online games are real popular now, but being in the same room was fucking sweet.
Oh yeah, just like we can just make. I remember in like. I would say the second volume of our StarCraft days, where like we had the 5 over at your old place, but then when you moved in with Dave and Cody, there was like the 4, and they sort of weren't facing away from each other, but they were sort of in a corner, and it was me, Corey Carr, and you and Matt, and like they're like we had to say something to each other like to coordinate the stuff, and he was like, hey, just just we're hitting Keith in like 2 minutes. Get ready. I'm like, okay. And like you guys could clearly tell communications were happening. And you were like whisper, and it was then trying to psych out, just trying to use like signals that like, all right, and just like go and whatnot. And,
Man, though, do you remember when we had all the computers set up at my mom's
Oh,
house?
yeah.
And then there was the one computer on the third floor.
Oh yeah, and like we even immediately like, well, what are we gonna do for crises? All right, hit this on the phone.
Yeah,
so
it was like if you just send the message P, that means pick up the phone. And since we were all in the same house, you didn't have to dial. You could
yeah,
just
like
talk
that.
to each other.
And I was on the third, and it was tricky because we're like, all right, everyone knows the map we're gonna have to do. Like you'd have to sort of send a runner, and then we'd be playing, and of course, be us versus computers. And then I see this line of brown, and it was basically like Woodstock for hydralisks, just going all the way up. And I immediately hit P, and I was like, oh man, I gotta call this in. And I pick up the phone, and I hear Matt going, yes, we know, we're dealing with it. And he hangs up. Like valuable seconds are being wasted just kind of discussing the problem, and then I just try to hold out and whatnot. But
I was
yeah.
just thinking, do you remember like how it was always like when you play online,
Oh,
people
yeah.
would put on their map name, no Koreans.
Yeah.
You know? But so I had this guy named Manu that I knew in Vancouver who was from Korea, and
Right.
I was talking to him on email a little while ago, and I was like, hey, you know, I don't want to just sound stereotypical, but Starcraft 2, right? And he's like, fucking right! I'm so excited.
You're like, yeah, I hope you're almost hoping like you're not all the same over there. We don't want to stereotype it. And he's just like, he's got the Blizzard shirt and
Yeah,
just
well, apparently they did the first announcement of
Yeah, they
was in
did.
Korea.
Yeah,
they
it
didn't
was-
even do it in America.
yeah, was
It's
it
fucked up.
yeah, like I saw like kind of like on YouTube there's like screenshots and just crowd going nuts and just was it
I'm just imagining like you got like a million Korean guys in front of like a stage, and a guy just comes out and just says Starcraft 2, walks away and just fires, and like the whole place just goes insane.
They just even have like the StarCraft 2 logo and just the 2 slits. That's all I have to say for just like the bedlam of the kind of going across and whatnot. And yeah, it was,
Man, you know what I also just makes me remember? Do you remember when your brother would play online? And your brother Mark, he would play online like a 2-on-2, so he's like supposed to be somebody's teammate, and he would name himself Backstabber number 1.
yeah, number 1, I think with an exclamation point. Yeah, was it? And he would go and start like building a bunker in his teammate's base, or just move troops, and even kind of discuss like, hey, let's hit that Zerg base. And then he would take off allies, and his units would just start opening up.
So he's just shooting the shit out of his own party.
Yeah, yeah. And he'd almost quite obviously target like SCVs and stuff, like really destroy the guy's economy.
And there was no voice chat back then, so it was all you had to type
Yeah,
stuff.
just like, hey, turn on your allies. And Mark would be like, what? And it's like
long pauses too.
Yeah.
The guy'd be like, allies, you got your allies turned off, you're shooting me. He's like, where's that? So the guy would be like, click here, da 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 da. I'm not seeing it.
And again, like just and sometimes he wouldn't do it right at the start too. It'd just be like, hey, what are you going? And the teammate would be like, I'm going carriers. Well, I'm going nukes. And then just like he would turn it off, and then the nukes would start flying and then it's way obvious because nukes don't just start going off. You have to target them.
And do you remember Kenneth would always name himself like Disco Donkey?
Yeah, Disco Donkey. Yeah, he's got a bunch now. Disco Donkey. Actually, Jenkins had Famous Ape. Capricious Crocodile.
I think it all started with Rich Uncle Skeleton.
Yeah, Rich Uncle. Yeah, it was
Like
Rich Uncle
consistency.
Skeleton. I thought one of my favorite names for a map or like for a game was "There Ain't No Air in Space," and I knew it was kind of like this tear in space lab. But yeah, like StarCraft was, it just kind of, he was just good. Like it was so well balanced too. Like just.